First of all, many of us, when we first saw Tiffany Haddish come out on the scene, many of us didn't even know who she was, where she came from. We didn't see much of a career path. It's like one day she wasn't there, and then the next day she was there. It's like she came out of nowhere. And it's like, where did this person come from?
Tiffany Haddish is loud and buffoonery, but she is not funny. And she does seem to have come out of nowhere. I looked for some old clips of her stand-up so you can judge for yourself. I want you to judge because she didn't get where she is because of her talents. And she seems to be willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top. But you be the judge if she should have been the chosen one based on her comedic skills.
I want to be somebody when I grow up. I want to be a huge star. Not physically, but I want to be big. I want to be like the next Halle Berry / Jim Carrey with that Oprah Winfrey money. Mother rich. A lot of people ask me though, Tiffany, why do you do comedy? Why do you do comedy? Why? Why don't you model? Get a rich baby daddy or something? I'm like, if this comedy don't work out, that's what the I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get pregnant, collect child support like the rest of these bitches out here.
Who's the biggest celebrity that you would like to meet?
That I would like to meet?
Yeah.
That's alive?
You don't want to meet somebody dead, because that's... So, yeah, somebody alive right now.
Somebody alive that I can meet right now? And meet like, what do you mean by meet? Like just
all
meet
right,
like,
sleep with.
Or meet like, oh, you gonna help my career, mother? Let me suck your yes, Uma Thurman, I will suck your Uma.
In a since deleted Instagram Live, the 44-year-old girls trip actress and comedian found out she was Jewish later in life, and she actually had a bat mitzvah at the age of 40. She informed her 7.4 million followers that she was taking a 16-hour flight from Los Angeles to Israel to learn and see with her own eyes.
On my way to Tel Aviv, then to Jerusalem, then I'm going to the Dead Sea and go and get me some. Gonna have some fun, yeah, it's gonna be great. Then I'm gonna learn about the politics. Hey, see, I feel like I can't believe everything I see on the internet. I can't believe everything everybody's saying to me on the internet. I need to go see for myself. I'm one of those people.
I'm uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable? Does that seem weird to you at all? Trying to turn it into a rap song? Why? So black people are just gonna be like, yeah, we're with it. Yeah, on my way to politics. On my way to politics. You would do, like, what is that? What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
I don't believe Tiffany Haddish went to Israel because she woke up one morning and decided she wanted to see what the war was all about. She could have Googled it. I simply believe that she's one of the puppets in Hollywood who was chosen to give a narrative to black people in order to garner our support for Israel. And I'm going to show you how the war started and that it's been going on for hundreds of years. Around the 1900s, the Jewish people were scattered around the world, and they wanted a country to bring all the Jewish people together and also to help them escape the Holocaust in Germany. So the Rothschilds, the wealthiest family in the world, with their money and power, influenced the British government to find them land where they could develop their own country. The British government gave the Jewish people land that was already occupied by the Palestinian people. Today, there is a massive genocide of the Palestinian people, and in 2024, there have been over 30,000 Palestinian deaths. And that's not to mention the thousands of deaths since the war began hundreds of years ago.
Backroom deals, betrayal, and a war that's lasted almost 100 years. This is what happened when the richest family in the world decided to create their own country. In 1917, the Rothschilds, the trillion-dollar family that invented modern-day banking, used their money, power, and influence to strike a secret deal with the British government. That deal eventually led to the creation of the country of Israel. The Jews are some of the most intelligent, industrious people in the world. However, for years, the millions of Jews scattered around Europe had been trying to secure a large piece of land to start the country of Israel. But no matter how hard they tried, they got nothing. That was until they linked up with the super-rich Walter Rothschild, a man who could change the world with the snap of his finger. However, aside from their power, the Rothschilds also had a reputation for being extremely ruthless. They wouldn't hesitate to wield their power as a weapon, to bulldoze through their enemies and crush anyone who opposed them. If the Rothschilds wanted something, they better get it, or they'd be hell to pay. Walter Rothschild made the calls he needed to make, pulled the strings he needed to pull, and in 1917, the British government sent Walter an official letter promising to do everything within their power to provide land for the creation of Israel. That letter redesigned the map of the world, and if you need proof, we have a copy of that letter.
November the 2nd, 1917. Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
So it's possibly the most famous letter in modern Jewish history, and it begins with 3 words: Dear Lord Rothschild.
That letter, nicknamed the Balfour Declaration, is proof that it was the Rothschild family that created Israel. But there's even more evidence. In this interview, the head of the Rothschild family proudly explains how his ancestors created Israel. The interviewer begins by asking the question that was on everyone's mind.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
The reason is obvious. Because it was the Rothschilds' money, power, and influence that made the British government fall in line. Years later, Britain kept their promise to the Rothschilds and provided a large piece of land to start Israel. And in May 1948, the State of Israel was officially created. Although this was good news, the Rothschilds were just getting started. What the Rothschilds did next was even more impressive. They invested millions of dollars into Israel, building schools, roads, and everything needed to turn that piece of land into a beautiful country. James Rothschild single-handedly paid for Israel's Congress building, while Dorothy D. Rothschild paid for Israel's Supreme Court building. However, the more money the Rothschilds spent, the more problems they created. Why? Because the land the British gave to Israel actually belonged to another group of people, called the Palestinians. And that land dispute sparked the series of conflicts between Israelis and Palestinians that's gone on for decades.
President Biden and the U.S. government is providing Israel with money and weapons, and the U.S. is the only country right now to hold out on ending this war, and is using black people to be the face of this holdout. So if Tiffany Haddish really wanted to learn about this war, she could have stayed right here and asked Biden why he is funding it and why he doesn't want it to end. Based on how the war began in the first place, I believe the Rothschilds is continuing to pull strings and wield their power for the U.S. to hold out until Israel has taken the land completely from the Palestinian people.
For those who are not aware, the UN brought forth another ceasefire resolution in reference to Israel and Gaza. And as you can imagine, the United States was the only country to veto the resolution for ceasefire. We're going to get into it with this story here from Al Jazeera.
Welcome to the News Hour. The United States has once again vetoed a draft resolution on Gaza at the UN Security Council. It's the third veto by the US since the start of the war. The text put forward by Algeria called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and had 13 members voting in favour of it. The US was the only country to vote against it.
We are rapidly approaching a critical juncture where the call to halt the machinery of violence will lose its significance. Today, every Palestinian is a target for death, extermination, and genocide. We should ask ourselves how many innocent lives must be sacrificed before the Council deems it necessary to call for a ceasefire.
And I think that's one of the most important questions that someone can ask. That's Algeria there. How many more Palestinians have to die in order for the U.S. government to not veto a ceasefire? How many? How many more? It's almost as if they're trying to completely wipe everyone out. And that includes the U.S. government, by the way, not just the state of Israel. We already know what they want, but that includes the U.S. government as well.
While numerous parties engage in sensitive negotiations, this is not the time for this resolution, which jeopardizes these efforts.
Pause. This woman right now has to be one of the most hated women in the country right now, or actually in the world, because she's the one that raises her hand. And when she is not there, there's an alternate that steps in for her. That is the gentleman who is sitting directly behind her. And we saw him raise his hand before to veto the ceasefire resolution.
If Tiffany Haddish did indeed go to Israel and got the answers she was looking for, what exactly will she do with that information? You see, white people use black people to do their dirty work all the time. And that's why they strategically place black people in certain positions so that they can be used to repeat their talking points and to spew lies and untruths. And I believe Tiffany Haddish is one of those puppets. But she did present an opportunity for us to look deeper into this war than what the media is telling us. And I normally don't like to place black and brown people together, but in this case, it's clear that if you're not considered white, you have no place in this world. And that message is especially true for black people in the United States.